Some of you might have heard about the new YouTube guidelines, wherein if your channel is too small, YouTube removes it from the YouTube Partnership Program and also any chance of being monetized. This ostensibly helps YouTube regulate monetized channels, secure precious ad revenue, and ensure a stable working environment for... No, I think we all know that this is just YouTube tightening its belt and trying to squeeze out the very people who made YouTube what it is. You. Yes, you, the creators, are YouTube's problem, so they've lined up thousands of channels on the chopping block and cut them off at the root. If you happen to be one of the unfortunates who YouTube has deemed too expensive or too troublesome, then you probably woke up to an email like this, and let me read out what it says. Today we are announcing changes to the YouTube Partner Program, or EAP. While our goal remains to keep the EAP open to as many channels as possible, we recognize that we need more safeguards in place to protect creator revenue across the YouTube ecosystem. Under the new eligibility requirements announced today, your YouTube channel, whatever it may be, is no longer eligible for monetization because it does not meet the new threshold of 4,000 hours of watch time within the past 12 months and 1,000 subscribers. As a result, your channel will lose access to all monetization tools and features associated with the YouTube Partner Program on the 20th of February 2018 unless you surpass this threshold in the next 30 days. Accordingly, this email serves as 30 days notice that your YouTube Partner Program terms are terminated. And of course at the bottom you get some claptrap about YouTube's core values and how they provide anyone with the opportunity to earn money from a thriving channel. And of course you can benefit from the Creator Academy or Help Center because we all know that we wouldn't be anywhere without the Creator Academy and YouTube Help Center, right? This is essentially an ultimatum contained in a pink slip. If you can't step up, then you will be forced to step out. It is simply a way for YouTube to draw a ring around the arena of success. This far may you come and no further. Now, it's a known fact that YouTube is not a revenue colossus. It's not pulling in money, and it's certainly not leading any charges in innovation. We can argue until we're blue in the face about how there's not enough ads to go around. There's not enough money to go around. Not everyone is going to make it in an ever-increasing tide of competition. All of these statements are true, but they don't really add up to anything that defends what YouTube has done and is doing. Remember when Logan Paul uploaded the video of that suicide? Remember how he suffered nothing but a slap on the wrist and then YouTube released that god-awful open letter to the community where they talked about how they're working so hard on steps to make sure it never happens again. Except demonetizing small channels doesn't make sure it never happens again. In fact, it does nothing to address the real problem, that YouTube is not in the business of moderating content except when that content directly makes them money. They want to have a system that's, on the surface, completely unbiased to all viewpoints and actions, but then we get absolute proof through the Paul brothers' ongoing fiasco, the controversies about ignoring things like Daddy05, and the infamous prank channels that they coddle and revere certain creators and their content and push them to the head of the line regardless of what the content actually is. I've heard people claim that this new system is going to clamp down on bad actors, like bot channels that steal content, but given how opaque YouTube is and how every time they fix an issue, a dozen more crop up due to their incompetence, well, I'm not gonna hold my breath. The mere idea that YouTube even cares enough to go after these fake channels is laughable, and the idea that they'll be demonetized to death is equally so. Bad actors are bad actors. They'll find a way to game whatever system YouTube puts in place. It's why they're bad actors. And we see them not only slithering through the muck at the bottom of the slush pile, but sitting as untouchable royalty on top of everyone else's shoulders. Let's get one thing straight. YouTube doesn't care about bad actors. It cares about YouTube's money, period. It did not install this system to do away with content thieves, suicide warriors, or whatever other degeneracies the next Logan Paul has come up with. YouTube doesn't care about good content or bad content, it just wants content. Its entire system is run by a robot. Even attempting to humanize a giant corporation run by an even gianter corporation, all controlled by algorithms with no sense of moderation, is an exercise in futility. So where does this leave us smaller channels? Well, it leaves us where we've always been, at the end of the pier with concrete blocks encasing our feet, except this time YouTube has gone ahead and pushed us over the edge. Oh, and they decided to put a few bullets in our back just for good measure. Looking into the YouTube creator blog, we catch a rare glimpse of YouTube actually providing users with some hard data to back up their decisions. Back in April of 2017, we set a EEP eligibility requirement of 10,000 lifetime views. While that threshold provided more information to determine whether a channel followed our community guidelines and policies, it's been clear over the last few months that we need a higher standard. Though these changes will affect a significant number of channels, 99% of those affected were making less than $100 per year in the last year, with 90% earning less than $2.50 in the last month. Any of the channels who no longer meet this threshold will be paid what they've already earned based on our AdSense policies. After thoughtful consideration, we believe these are necessary compromises to protect our community. Except now we've run into a problem of values. Some people value $2 or $100 a lot more than Logan Paul might value $100, but if Logan Paul dropped $100 in the street, you can bet he'd dab like an angry goose if you tried to pick it up before him. Unless of course he was making a video about charity or some twaddle. People keep saying, it shouldn't be about the money, but notice we only really hear that from people who are already making money. And if it shouldn't be about the money, why is YouTube allowed to make it about money right there in their blog? Do we not see the inherent irony in a massive corporation telling us little people, it's only $100, you shouldn't be concerned with $100, you plebeians? Oh, but remember, it's so expensive for YouTube, we should be so very concerned with how much money they're making. And to an extent, they're right. YouTube can't give us money unless they're making money. But they're the ones who made this broken system. They're the ones who we regularly complain about and demand action from. They're the ones who made it possible for those who are on top to be on top in the first place. And for these larger channels who already made it to turn around and tell their competition, stop competing with us, we worked hard, fuck you, I got mine, is egocentric and selfish at best. Sure, they worked hard to get famous, but they worked in an age that was entirely different before anyone even knew you could get rich and famous on YouTube. And now we know for a fact that YouTube pushes certain people to the front of the line anyway. It actually makes people rich and famous with less effort on their part due to their messing with the algorithms. So I say, bollocks to that. YouTube absolutely does not care about what we put on YouTube. It cares about keeping YouTube profitable. But really, the only important issue here is that YouTube is drawing a line in the sand around its larger content creators. Emphasis on large. It's not doing this to clamp down on abuse. It's creating a monarchy with a noble class of vassal channels that will defend YouTube's actions in order to keep their place in the new pecking order. This is all about metrics, not about content. It's right there in the fucking blog. If it was actually about controlling content, they wouldn't tell us further down they're still depending entirely on the community to get it right for them. Just like they didn't do a zip-zapperin' thing about Logan Paul when he rammed a hot iron rod up YouTube's ass before YouTube turned around to give him a slap on the wrist and an "oh you." Now some of you might be wondering why I've been using Empires of the Undergrowth as my backdrop for this video. Well, it's because that's what YouTube sees us as. Big or small, we're all just little drones and worker ants toiling away for a tiny scrap of the ever-increasing and yet increasingly regulated ad revenue pie. And occasionally, YouTube will tap on the glass to make us work even harder for even less reward because, after all, it's not about the money.